initial value proposition was about bringing sort of disparate resident or property management experiences into a single application. Nothing was really on the market at that time back in 2017, 2018. As that has become a little more standardized, now we've escalated and enhanced our integrations into the world of access control, into the world of communication, IoT, managed Wi-Fi, all of those different hardware and technology partners that intersect in multifamily. In our space right now, there's very few people that do the breadth of everything that we do. A lot of people talk about resident turnover as a drainer of NOI, but many would argue that turnover in the on-site team has a much larger implication to property financials. And so we've really focused on those two elements as a way to deliver that NOI value prop to owners and operators.
Okay, we're here with David from Livly. David,
Hello.
Go ahead
Nice
and
to meet
introduce
you.
yourself.
Hi, I'm David Shaw. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Livly. We are a multifamily prop tech SaaS company that provides a digital layer of integration for all software, hardware, and processes that touch owning, operating, living, or serving a multifamily property.
That's a small value proposition.
We seeing is believing, right? We often are met with incredulity on everything that we say that we do, but once we get into the platform and do the demo, it all shows true.
Yeah, so we've often talked about integrations on the podcast and talked to our clients about it, and we have half of our company is really tech focused, and so we are mostly focused, as you can imagine, on the integrations that are key to marketing. When you talk about integrations and prop tech and kind of in those broad strokes, can you be more specific? I guess, which integrations do you guys currently have, and what do you leverage the most?
Yeah, so the core of Livly was built around some of the utilitarian functions of rent payment, maintenance requests, and so we integrate into all the big players and back-end systems, your Yardies, your RealPages, Entradas, so on and so forth. That's really where we started, and the initial value proposition was about bringing sort of disparate resident or property management experiences into a single application. Nothing was really on the market at that time back in 2017, 2018. As that has become a little more standardized, now we've escalated and enhanced our integrations into the world of access control, into the world of communication, IoT, managed Wi-Fi, all of those different hardware and technology partners that intersect in multifamily.
And is it, you said nothing was out of bounds, just to go on record here before we but are you guys, have you raised or are you self-funded? Is it bootstrap?
So we have raised.
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
Like a Series A or just seed
still
round?
seed round. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we've been running on that pretty conservatively and really trying to maximize value for all of our shareholders. We run a very lean and intentional operation, all meant to just sort of maximize value, and we're really big on 10x output. That's sort of one of our guiding principles.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, with the value proposition that you guys are coming to market with, that's not a inexpensive vision.
Correct.
So that's what made me curious. And then what would you say is the sweet spot right now as far as your clientele, because that's a big application, right? But have you guys narrowed in on a specific portfolio size, blend of third-party operated, et cetera?
Yeah, I think we have the fastest acceleration in owned operated properties. Our sweet spot is anything north of 100 units. We get the maximum value return when there is the most amenities and facilities and integrations available, but we are flexible enough, like I said, with our utilitarian roots, everything from Class A plus, super luxury, all the way down through Class C, workforce housing, student, senior. We really run the whole spectrum, but we get the the best return and the best engagement in the properties that have a little more focus on the resident experience, and they are early adopters of technology.
Cool.
Who would you say are your biggest competitors?
Yeah, so in our space right now, there's very few people that do the breadth of everything that we do. But we are going to be the mobile doormans of the world. The enterprise systems have their own resident portals, active building, one site, and we're a partner to that. But at the end of the day, we try to be a UI UX that lays over the top. And so, we play in the same space, but I wouldn't call us competitors there.
Right. It's, I could have asked it as like, what other solutions are you replacing, or augmenting? Because when I've seen your marketing material before, you guys are very clean, very slick, and it feels very consumer friendly.
Sure.
But yet, a lot of the language you were using with Reid sounded very like operationally back end, like attractive. So it made me sort of where I was going.
Absolutely.
How much are people buying it because of the better, consumer experience at the end of the day versus like back end operations or like staff fulfillment?
Absolutely. So the Livly operating system sort of consists of 3 modules, right? We have our onboarder, which is everything from lease signing all the way to move-in. You can think of like an updater in that space. And so through that journey, the resident can schedule their move-in, reserve the loading dock, reserve the elevator, communicate with the property management team, reserve any other amenities. They have access to national partners and marketplace offers to support with offsite storage or movers or home cleaners. And they have a dedicated, unique future resident experience in the app. And then the day that their lease goes active, they automatically switch into the current resident experience. And that is where you're seeing a community feed which is highly engaged, and that's sort of supplanting a Nextdoor or a Facebook page dedicated to a building. It's a walled garden, all verified by lease activity, but it's a place for residents to engage across groups. We also have mass communication, so property managers can use in-app native template tools to design marketing forward emails and communication. We have SMS tools, there's in-app chat, there's maintenance ticket submissions where we do real-time two-way sync with the ERP and PMS systems. They can pay their rent, they can book their amenities, so you compete with like an amenity boss in that space. And so there's a number of point solutions that maybe we don't hit 100% of what they offer, but we run tech that works. It's all integrated into one space, and it brings all of these disparate data points into a dashboard, which is the final component of the Livly OS, which is the property manager hub. And it is a unified ecosystem where the property manager or the senior levels above them can get a snapshot of what's happening in the building, everything from overdue rent to outstanding maintenance tickets to package inventory in the package room, move-in flow, amenity reservations, everything in a nice clean screen right on their desktop.
How many folks are customers are buying all 3 modules, or is it almost a requirement, or do some of them start with one module and then slowly expand? Yeah,
that's a great question. So we have 3 tiers of our product offerings with various feature bundles. Our most successful, our most prominent is the Livly Pro, which is the full suite of experiences. Some are more interested in, say, just the community feed piece, and so we have the ability to deliver even just a single point solution. Other people are looking just for the package management or just for the marketplace, but the overwhelming majority of our customers are in some version of the full or just below full Livly Pro suite.
And does it tend to be more of a portfolio rollout, or do many of them pick and choose properties?
We take them any way they come.
Okay.
When we have a centralized decision maker, that tends to be the lowest amount of friction in getting adoption and engagement.
Yeah.
Right? Our top 80% of customers have greater than 90% downloads and 80% monthly active users. So every 30 days, 80% of the residents are in the app and using it. Creates an incredible stickiness. We've seen an average of 18% impact to renewals. We've seen a reduction, of net operating costs of 10% through the flows and the automation.
Wow.
And so the more properties that a customer brings on the platform, the faster they realize that returned value.
So is that usually your core North Star metric for them? Is it like the cost reduction or the savings? Or
Yeah, that's really where they tend to pay the most attention. And from
Shocker.
yeah, right. From the beginning, that was our intention, right? Was to make a measurable positive impact to NOI through increasing retention, stickiness, and satisfaction of both the resident and the on-site team, right? A lot of people talk about resident turnover as a drainer of NOI, but many would argue that turnover in the on-site team has a much larger implication to the property financials. And so we've really focused on those two elements as a way to deliver that NOI value prop to owners and operators.
So what do you see as the biggest challenges for Livly, over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I sort of alluded to it earlier where we have spent so much time and effort with a world-class engineer team based out of Chicago, where we have built a very complete, robust, and some would say complex solution. And so really having the opportunity to get people to discover Livly, explore Livly, so that we can get them in front of the platform. And as I said, seeing is believing. That's really where our focus is for the latter half of this year and for the upcoming future, is just really solidifying the story we tell about all of the things that we can accomplish and all of the solutions that we can maybe replace in on-site operations.
Yeah, we've had a few other folks on talking about the challenges in front of them, and a lot of times switch cost comes up. And so I didn't know if you were feeling that, because you can come with a great value proposition, great product, right? But there's often a lot of fear, or hesitation to even test, because it's like, oh, this is going to be a big distraction. It's going to cause a lot of the friction that you were, saying you're trying to avoid. So I don't know how you guys approach that, but if you're like, well, maybe we just start with this one component. So that it's not trying to rip the Band-Aid off and bring on, a full new system. But how do you think about switch costs?
Absolutely. So we traditionally see that in some of the larger enterprise clients where, for them trying to accomplish anything is like turning a cruise ship. It's slow, it's steady, it takes a long time. And exactly to your point, we will load in the full solution, but we'll roll out the features in waves, right? As to not inundate the property managers with new functions, new features, a new way of doing the work that maybe they're already feeling a struggle to get done in a day. And so we really emphasize the earliest value add features and integrations that are intended to take work off of that property manager's plate while surfacing meaningful data to the decision makers.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the acronym BHAG?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So that must mean that you have one.
Yeah, we always
for our
talk
listeners,
about,
big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah.
Our
Jim
goal
Collins.
our big, hairy, audacious goal that we've got on the horizon is to be live in 1 million units. That's what we go to bed at night thinking about. That's what we wake up every morning planning to do, and it's just a slow, steady, consistent march of doing the small things right as we march towards that North Star, that BHAG.
So what's the timeline on, did you give yourself one on the million?
Yeah, our plan is by the end of 2024, so about 6 quarters.
It's not exactly a slow march.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the 20-mile march as well?
I'm not. That's a new one to me.
This comes from the Jim Collins books, but he really preaches, for businesses that you shouldn't pursue growth at all costs, and but you also can't afford to fall behind. So really, ultimately, you need to decide, what are we going to achieve every year, no matter what?
Yep.
and that keeps you kind of at a good pace, you know, so that you don't get in over your skis, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's something, that I just advocate for wonderful. As you think about that. That I just love that you were saying it's a methodical march to get there.
Yeah.
So lines up with some of our language, some of our own philosophies.
Wonderful. I like that one. I'm going to steal that 20-mile march from
Yeah.
No, it's great. Yeah, the 20-mile march also is where we've struggled internally, because someone will present you with a big opportunity where you can go 40 miles, but Colin specifically says not to rush that when you do. Meaning, don't just push 40 miles because you can, because then you may exhaust yourself, or let's say pull a hamstring, and then you can't continue 20 miles the next day. You got to take time off. So that's I think the hardest part of the discipline when building a business. If you get a big opportunity, someone comes to you with 200,000 units, you're like, oh shoot, I should take that, but maybe that's too much march for now. You know.
Yeah, the other, I think, great takeaway, and I think that was from Built to Last in his book, but he talks about SMAC recipes, specific, methodical, and consistent, but it's really the operating code for your business, the do's and the don'ts. And he, references Southwest Airlines as one of the best examples of that, but just what they agreed to, pursue and what they wouldn't. What was the analogy on the Greyhound, like on who they compete with and who they don't?
Yeah, it's like Southwest Airlines competes with Greyhound, not with American Airlines.
Right.
So, it's like why when people would come to him and say we should serve food because American does and we can make more, more margin.
Yeah.
He's like, does Greyhound serve food? All right, let's move on.
So there's no confusion about your identity, right?
That's great. Yeah.
And that's another one that's supposed to be endurable for like 10 years. It's like, make sure that you stay true to this and you have a much better chance of succeeding. Yeah. So I think it's hard in our space, and I've said that just to Tyler, who we had on before from Funnel, but clients often draw you in, or out of your comfort zone or your core competency.
Absolutely.
And it's because you're pursuing growth. It's like, can you also do this? Can you do that? Next thing you know, you're distracted and you're not hitting the goals that you had set out for yourself. So, yeah, not to lecture here. I just, anytime we talk to other CEOs, founders, presidents, it's something that we're always curious to hear is, what is that 20-mile march? What is the operating code? And what's the BHAG?
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I was going to say, anything else you want to get off your chest before we let you go?
No, I really love the opportunity to share Lively's story. I think one thing that I'm learning this week is we've got to continue to evolve the way that we use AI and lean into the tools and the resources available. I think that's going to be the big trend coming out of NAA this year, and will probably be the topic of conversation for several weeks to come, without hopefully getting distracted from our 20-mile march.
Right. That's totally it, right? Shiny object,
Yep.
right? So.
Well, we're all about, partnerships, collaboration, like seeing all boats rise. So the more we can understand, the Livelies and all the rest of the great new companies that are coming in the industry, the better, because we're happy to pay it forward and try and help you out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, David.
Thanks.